Hi Quilters, I'm Shelley Robson from the Quilted Forest. In January, we challenged you to pick 12 projects that you want to work on this year and mark them 1 through 12, and every month we are picking out a number out of the bucket and you work on that project for that month. In January, we picked project number 5, February was project number 4, and I got mine done. It was one I was really excited to work on, and here is how it turned out. I am calling this one kind of the Wacky Wedding ring because I think the original person who had made these back in, I'm guessing the 30s maybe, or 40s, 50s, had intended to make a double wedding ring quilt, and she didn't get that accomplished, and I found these at an antique shop. So now I'm calling it the Wacky Wedding quilt. So this is what I started out with at the beginning of February. It was just a bunch of pieces that were kind of already put together, sort of. They were hand done, all hand pieced, and I knew the wedding ring wasn't going to work because the pieces just were not fitting together. So I had to go with plan B. So I even found the little paper template that she used to cut out all these pieces. I thought that was kind of cool. Ultimately, I decided to applique these onto a base square or a rectangle. I wanted to kind of create a scallop edge. I knew that none of the arcs were the same, so I was going to need to do a little fiddling with it to make it look right. And I decided to use a technique where you sew these onto a stabilizer, and I had to cut out a lot of stabilizer. I had to do a little bit of ripping so that all the arcs were about the same. And then you sew on both sides of the arc, and then you cut around so that it's even on all the edges, and then you flip these right side out. That was a good job to do in front of the television, so I got to do a little TV watching while I worked on these arcs. Turning them right side out was kind of a tricky proposition. I had to be really careful. I didn't want to put my finger through the stabilizer, and I did a few times, but it was kind of easy to fix too. And then you just had to keep kind of pulling and pushing and getting it all through there. She had made about 61 arcs that I had to use to make this, and so I had a plan for about 70. So there were enough pieces in the box for me to make the right amount of blocks for the quilt top. And yes, they were all this fiddly to get. Once I got them all turned right side out, then I had to press them. And I had to use a Fusimat, one of those silicone pressing sheets, so that I could keep the stabilizer, the glue on the side of the stabilizer, not sticking to my ironing board. After they were pressed, then I ironed them to the base squares or the rectangles, and then I machine stitched them down. I know that they were hand pieced, but she never finished them and I was going to, so I needed to use the machine to applique. I made 25 blocks in total, and then I made 20 of the sashing units that would go on the outer edge. I decided I needed to put some sashing in between these blocks so that maybe the wonky arcs would be as noticeable when it was finished. After I got done with the sewing, then I squared all the blocks up. The blocks were all squared at 11 inches square, and the sashing pieces were 4 3/4 by 11 inches. And then I laid out the blocks to see which way I wanted to put them together. And so I did one that was kind of circles, and then this one where they were all kind of going the same way. In the end, I decided I liked the circular one. And then I had to figure out which color of sashing I wanted to use. I tried pink, I tried a red, I tried green, I tried yellow, but in the end, we decided to go with the green sashing, and then I used one of the fabrics that was left over in the box to do those little cornerstones. And it was finally finished. The quilt top was done, looking great. I was very happy with the way that turned out, and I decided to machine quilt it because it needed to be done. I like to think that the person who started this would be happy with the way that I finished it. Now you've seen my project, it's time to pick the number for March. All right, we've got all the cards in here. We're going to pick one number. Oh, I hope I took out number 4 and 5. Oh well, if we pick them again, we'll just pull another number. All right, this month is project number 6. boy, I worked that whole aisle. Oh, it's another one I really want to work on. All right, so for my project 6, I have a bucket of fabric here. And this was a quilt that my grandmother had made me, and it was a puff quilt. And all of these were sewn together into little squares, and then they were zigzagged together. And the poor thing was falling apart, and the little puff balls that were supposed to be flat were actually just kind of balled up in the middle of it. So I cut the balls out, the little poofy balls out, and now I'm going to do something different with it. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm making yet, but I've got time to plan and a month to make it, and we will see you in April. If you haven't joined us yet, pick out some projects and number them. You can even catch up. We've only been through 2 of the months so far. We hope you'll remember to hit the like button, leave us a comment, share this with your quilting friends so you can all do projects together, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Happy quilting!